up. How you gonna try and take 3 down, 1 up? Bro on the ball and you know he a gunner. Release it quick, I'll displace the runner. Lights get heavy when they're bright on you, but I'm iron real, so I always shoot. Are you really sure for a 2v2? You could get left back when the third one's through. I'm the man in my city, so trust we're united. So the wolves can't come for the team. All enemies just spur me on, they can't make me mad. I'm the chosen son. No wait, I mean we're the chosen 3. Attack and defend, sword and shield. How you gonna try and pass it round when you always see us 3 in midfield?
Yes. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. A new intro, a new song. So if you're listening to this on the audio and you're confused, believe me, it's still 3 in midfield. I am, of course, your host, Kojo. We are back. It's been a long time. June 27th, I believe, was the last time I did a show on here. Theo was the guest on the show. We spoke about Chelsea and the transfer window and their business so far. Back then, so far, anyway. But a lot has happened. People being annoyed with their clubs, being Man United, Spurs in good form, Arsenal fans doing well, City have lost 3 in a row, Pogba's failed drug tests twice. Anything else I've missed out? Beckham documentary came out. Anything else I've missed that's been crazy in the world of football? I can't think of anything else, really.
You could throw Onana in there, but I don't know.
It
depends.
I'm okay, man. I'm okay. But welcome to the show. That is the voice of Theo. Theo from the Shed End and from the Style of Play podcast. My brother, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me back on. As always, pleasure. But yeah, good 3 points collected this weekend, so I can come on podcast and talk football. Yeah, pleasure.
You haven't been smiling for a while, so it's good to see you smile.
Not at all.
And to his side, of course, we are joined for the first time on this podcast by Rodri Giggs and Rodri from Shoot the Defense. If you don't know, you got to need to know. Rodri, how you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm good. It's good to have you on.
Happy like Theo. We've got 3 points, so I'm happy. Thanks from me on.
Sounds delighted. And just below us on the panel, anyway, on the screen, but never below us on top in terms of the league table anyway, because his team is currently top of the table.
I think my Wi-Fi is cutting out, bro. Is that?
Do you know what I was thinking? Is it me?
I feel it's me too.
I was ready to phone BT.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad
to be here, bro. I'm loving the new intro as well.
Oh, appreciate it, man. Thank you. And it's good to have you back on. It's been a long time, but I've been waiting to get you back for a while, so I thought it was the right time to get you back. And finally, last but not least,
flying high at the top of the league.
And finally, last but not least, this is someone who is like an honorary member of 3 Midfield, if you don't know. And he used to hate Arteta. Then he loved Arteta. I don't know how he's feeling so far about Arteta. We're gonna find out today. Basil, how you doing, bro?
No, I'm doing good. I can't complain. Good victory. Arsenal are backing it up. So yeah, more happier times. It seems like you're getting a lot more happier me than the days when it was moaning me because we were doing so badly. But yeah, I can't complain.
Well, Basil, it's great to have you on again. And for anyone that's watching, if you didn't know, Basil's rich. But anyway, to the podcast. Let's start. Where should we start? Let's start. You know what? Let's start on Saturday. We'll go to the big game last, for sure. Let's go on Saturday, and the game that opened the Premier League weekend, which was Luton versus Tottenham Hotspurs, ended 1-0, courtesy of a goal by Mickey van der Ven. So we'll go straight to Callum, and I will ask the following question. Great start to the season so far. Top of the table, playing well. But it's the brand of football that I think you guys wanted to see improve at Tottenham more than anything before the results happen. So I know you guys had a bit of patience anyway in terms of seeing what could happen. But you are top of the table. On this game alone, what impressed you so much with your team's performance against Luton?
I mean, with the game alone, like I said to you earlier today, I was working during the game, so I only managed to catch the second half. And so yeah, I can't go too in depth in terms of analysis. But to be fair, I feel like Luton had chances. They just looked shaky. They looked like a newly promoted side. We had a lot of chances in the first half. What I saw from the highlights, Richarlison in particular, for me, he's the one thing that's bringing me down this season. Like you said, our football's been so good, but to replace Harry Kane with Richarlison is nowhere near good enough. I mean, the guy's just missing sitter after sitter every game. So yeah, I'm not too proud of him. But Mickey van der Ven, like you said, scored the goal. I'm surprised by how quickly he's adjusted to the Premier League. He's only, I think, 22 years old or something. new to the league, and he looks like he's been playing here for the last 5 to 7 years. And centre back's obviously been one of our biggest deficiencies. So to have him slot right in next to Romero and look comfortable has been a blessing this season. So yeah, top of the table. I can't complain right now. Very, very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rosary, we all know that great defensive partnerships mean a lot to the best of teams. You know, we've seen them with previous Premier League winning teams, and even if you haven't won the Premier League, you've had some defenses that have had a great partnership over the years. Van der Ven and Romero are new, but looking at how they defended, considering Spurs went out to 10 men, we'll talk about the red card later. How impressed are you so far by that sort of partnership? Do you think there's something blooming there to be a very solid partnership for years to come?
Well, it's still early yet, but the signs are good. You know, that Romero to me was rash. And he's always looked like he'd give you a red card, but this year he's totally different player. And you're right, the partnership's everything. It's not just one; it's the both of them. And yeah, they're both all the teams looking good at the minute. To be honest, Maddison, I can't believe when I look at Maddison every time, I think, why did we not get him? But yeah, he's a really good player. He's added to it. But like Callum says, you know, it's gonna bite in the ass if you don't keep on finishing these chances. And when you get to the last stages of the season, especially if you want to compete, which they are at the minute. So if they had a Harry Kane type finisher, you know, they would be competing all season. But you just worry about they need that striker to be scoring 15, 20 goals, and that Richarlison needs to be taking them chances. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, they've been really good so far.
Yeah, I mean, Theo, Richarlison, because I think after the international break, obviously he was pictured crying on the bench after he got taken off in the Brazil game. Came back and scored in a comeback win. It looked like, you know, not even looked like, I know the players will rally around him and look like maybe that's a confidence boost. But what is the main quality that he's missing when you watch his overall game? Yes, he's not the best of finishers, but what's the thing that's not clicking that makes him be essentially a negative even when Spurs are playing so good?
I think it's just the goals. I think it just comes down to the fact that, I mean, Saturday he should have had a goal. I mean, let's be honest, but I just think sometimes his decision making isn't the best as well. But it's difficult for him. I feel like obviously with Harry Kane going, a lot of pressure's on him as well as Son as well. But I feel like there's more pressure on him now. But he's got to be taking his chances. He's not playing for Everton anymore. With no disrespect to Everton, he's at a club that the expectations are going to be a lot higher than what they were at Everton. And he could kind of hide a little bit more, I think, when he was there. Whereas at Tottenham now, especially with Harry Kane gone, there's going to be an expectation that he's got to chip in with the goals. He has to chip in with them. You can't expect Son to do all of the work in terms of scoring goals. So he has to come in. He just has to get that one goal. You know what I mean? A couple of goals under his belt, get a bit of confidence, and then look. They've got a good manager, Spurs. So I think if there's anyone possibly to get the best out of Richarlison, it's probably going to be the manager they got now. So he's just got to score. That's the job he's got. Not his ultimate job, but everything else he does, I like him. I've always said I like Richarlison. I just think he needs to be able to score more goals. Yeah. You know, I think he's a really good player. I think he was good at Everton. I just think he's the goal scoring side and it's weird because when he plays for Brazil, I feel like he's a different player. I don't know if it's just the difference of the players that he's got around him, but there's so many things that you see about him. You just think, what a player. And then he comes back to the Premier League and he's just, I don't know, just something different about him. But he's got to score goals. That's for me, he's got to just put the ball in the back of the net.
Could be an element of freedom, I guess, with Brazil. Because when you play with your country, you know, I guess they give them free reign to go out there and express themselves. You know, Brazil always have the type of way, even if they don't have the flair or the levels of flair of the players of yesteryear, you know, you still have the freedom of them wanting to play and entertain. And maybe he has that as well. But we are talking about a player that's made moves of £50 million twice in English football, to Everton from Watford and then Everton to Tottenham. So maybe he's feeling that pressure. Basil, I'm going to allow you to not praise Tottenham. I thought I was going to be a bit naughty to you, but I thought I'll give you the chance to not praise Tottenham. Bissouma, discuss, because I don't understand why a yellow carded player would decide to dive and risk putting his team in danger of getting a result.
I don't understand it, and I've never understood it, especially when it wasn't even for a penalty. It was for a free kick. I honestly have no words. I can't explain what was going through his mind. And as soon as the referee was pulling his hand in his pocket for that second card, he knew. Which is quite disappointing because, in fairness, he is a very good player and has actually started well for Tottenham this season. And he was a very good player at Brighton. Took quite some time to settle, but I think this season, under a manager who kind of has faith and trust in him, you've seen like what he's capable of and the best of him. Just quickly in regards to Tottenham, I think results have gone well. I'll give them that. But I do think, I do think there is a period where probably that luck is going to run out because I don't think they played well in all of the games which they've got results in. I think there have been shaky moments and they have kind of just squeeze results, which in a way is a good thing. And I think I would say it would be a good thing if you have like the depth. I think my worry for Spurs is that they don't really have the depth. So sometimes if that starting 11 isn't working well, I do question whether they do have people on the bench who can help them drag them out of like troublesome matches. So I do question whether the depth will count against them long term in the season. But at the moment, I'll say that they're doing very well. Football's improved and they're getting the results, which is the most important thing.
It's nice to know that.
But personally, the funny thing is that people accept. I personally don't hate Tottenham too much, personally as an Arsenal fan, just because. And the reason why is because obviously growing up, I only had one Tottenham fan in school, and obviously Manchester United for me was the main rivals. So I don't really have like the hate that some Arsenal fans do. They're still the rivals,
Yeah.
but I'm one who can praise Tottenham when they do deserve praise.
That's right. Well, you used the words my worry for Tottenham, so it's nice that you care about them. That's nice. Callum, quickly before we move on from Spurs, Ange, just quickly on him and Maddison actually as well. Just their impact on the team as well, and actually how much this helps Son, because personally, I'm just gonna say this. I'll be very honest with you. I'm sure you've heard it from me before anyway. I've been a bit hot and cold on Son just because I feel like he has moments of inconsistency, which annoys me because a player of that quality, I know you can't be 100% every game, but I just want you to, just maintain a standard. And I feel like he's on one season, then next season he's on, but then off again. But, Maddison, Son, that connection, and Ange, just how impressed are you by everything that's happening around there?
Yeah, I mean, starting with Ange is difficult not to be impressed. I think when he came in, no one really had expectations, but at the time I was saying it was the right appointment because prior to that we had Conte and Mourinho, two big managers with winning CVs, and it didn't work. So I think I was at a point where I was ready to start again with a new manager who's, for the first time in a while, not bigger than the club in a way and with no pressure on him. And he's come in and he's done as good of a job as anyone could expect. The football we're playing is beautiful. And finally, it feels like Spurs fans have got their Tottenham back. And I know that, the media are trying to do this whole Tottenham aren't in a title race thing. For me personally, I think the title race conversation shouldn't even exist this early into the season anyway. That should be towards the last 10 games or so. And, to clarify, we're absolutely not in a title race and we won't be come the end of the season. I don't think any sane Spurs fan expects that because, we're at the start of a rebuild. We have, like Basil said, we have no depth in our squad. If Maddison or someone were to get injured, season's done ultimately, but Andrew's done as well as he can with the squad that he has, and I'm impressed at how well he's got us playing. And then with Maddison, everyone knew he was good when he was at Leicester, but to be honest, I didn't think he was as good as he's shown that he is now. We know that he chips in with goals and assists at Leicester, but I think his general play in terms of bringing the ball up from midfield to attack, dealing in tight spaces, I think Maddison's just been superb and by far signing of the summer. So very impressed with him. I hope we can wrap him in cotton wool, especially this international break. I heard he's been playing through injuries, as has Son. So, yeah, I'm hoping they don't get many minutes over the next couple of weeks because, like I said, without them two, then we haven't got much right now. So, yeah, very impressed all round, to be honest. It's a change that I can come on a podcast and be happy for once.
That's true.
In fairness, that's what you said. I knew that Maddison was that good. I actually wanted him at Arsenal as soon as Leicester got relegated. And obviously, he would have been like the perfect signing for us ahead of wasting money on Kai Havertz. Because, I saw how good he was at Leicester. And he was the type of player you think if you put him around better players in a better season and a team that is more competitive week in, week out, you'll see the best out of him. And he's doing just that at Tottenham. So, yeah, like I said, for me, that is probably one of the best signings of the summer. Great business from Spurs in terms of snapping him up when they did.
Yeah, I mean, Roger, you mentioned that you would have wanted Madison as well at United. I mean, wondering why United went all
I'd
in.
like to. I remember the first time I seen him was at Old Trafford live. Actually, when were playing when Norwich got promoted, and we played him first game, and he was brilliant then. But yeah, he's a real footballer. Always looking to get on the ball. Always looking to go forward. And not slow. No, he's not quick, but he's not slow. Yeah, he's a really good midfielder.
Really good, really good. Well, Spurs are done. It's top of the table. Good for them. Move on quickly to the rest of the games. Bournemouth were absolutely manhandled by Luton's children, Everton. 3-0 at home. Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest, nothing to speak about there. Complete 0-0 draw. Fulham dealt with Sheffield United 3-1. Let's go Burnley, Chelsea. Theo. Smile, man.
Yeah, man, I am. Internally, I'm smiling. Yeah, good
win.
result.
Yeah, good win. It's been an awkward start for you guys to the season, but I think I told you anyway that I think there's a period of time where your results will start coming and it'll be soon, and you've got a couple of wins on the bounce now. But just on this result alone, anyway, just what was the point that you caught out Burnley? What was the moment where you said, "Yeah, we've got them by the scruff of the neck"? Because obviously they took the lead, but you got back into the game quick enough anyway.
Yeah, just before half time. So I think Sterling was the threat down the left side. I think from throughout the game, even before they scored, you could see that Raheem Sterling was the one that was going to make a difference in the game. He had a really good chance in the first half. Just a bit unlucky, taking on defenders. And I think it was just, to be fair, when they went 1-0 up, I'll be honest, I thought, yeah, here we go. how many are they going to score? Because that's just been the pattern of our games recently. So to see the fight back in the team was good. But yeah, I think just before half time, with Sterling getting that goal, or the own goal from the Sterling cross, I think that helped just boost us for the second half, because I think the first half we were poor, and I think we allowed Burnley to sort of dominate the game a bit too much. I mean, their goal was avoidable. You know, you think about it, it was on the counter attack, and our defense was just at 6s and 7s. They just weren't. It's just an avoidable goal. But in the second half, I thought, again, Sterling, Cole Palmer, who I've been impressed with, watched him a lot for City, even the development squad when he was coming through. We just clicked in the second half. It's good to see Cole Palmer get his goal albeit from the penalty spot. And then obviously Nicholas Jackson, another player that's low on confidence, needed a goal. Competition now with Brozier back in the team as well. So I thought it was impressive. I think that's the first time I was reading, the first time we scored a big win like that since Southampton 6-0. So that was probably 2022. I think it's 2022. We beat Southampton 6-0. So, and obviously 3 back-to-back victories is something that, you know, a couple of years ago I would have slapped you in the face if you said that we would have only got 3 back-to-back victories recently. We should have been doing that before, but as times have struggled recently. So I just think it's going to be hard for us now, because obviously the international break for me has come at the wrong time. We're building a bit of momentum. We've got some really good, tough fixtures coming up, but good fixtures as well. And to have that international break come now, 2 things. 1, injuries. Like our medical room, they must be building an extra one somewhere, because the amount of injuries you pick up throughout the season is mad. But then hopefully everyone comes back injury-free and we can kick on again. We've got Arsenal, obviously, next big, like the next game's Arsenal. So we just need to build on that momentum. And to be fair, Burnley, credit to them, because they're not playing how Sean Dyche used to have them playing. You know, Company's got them playing a different style of football, and I can kind of see what they're doing. I just think they're going to struggle this season, because they just don't have the quality of players that can sustain a Premier League season. But we're going to come up against tougher tests this season, obviously. So, you know, when we play people like Fulham, who we should be beating, Nottingham Forest, who we lost to but should be beaten, Burnley, we should be beating them. I think Arsenal's going to be the biggest test in a couple of weeks.
You made a point there about Burnley and Company. Rodri, is Company making a mistake here, continuing to try and continue with this brand of football, which I understand is his style, is his philosophy, but if it's not working, surely there should be another alternative, because he keeps changing players, the lineups are not consistent, but you're still not getting any results. Where does it stop?
Well, the problem is you've got what other teams have done it. Brentford, recently. Leeds, Bournemouth. But I don't think Burnley have that quality that they did. You know, Brentford has Ivan Toney, Christian Eriksen. Don't think Burnley have got that. Is it a risk? Yes, but you know, that's the way he wants to play. That's the way he's got promoted at Cantor as well. So to change it would be probably worse. So you just got to stick by your guns, be confident. You know, when we played him, we were lucky to beat him, really.
Yeah, true.
So they are playing good, but I just like what Theo said, I just don't think they have that quality and depth to sustain a season in the Premier League. You know, it's a tough league. It's not the Championship. We've seen it how many times the teams have won the Championship by Canton and struggle the next year in the Premier League. We've seen it before. But will there be 3 teams that are worse than them? Probably. Luton, Sheffield United.
Everton?
Everton seem to have picked up a little bit though.
Bournemouth is another one, I think.
Bournemouth. So there's going to be a fight between about 4 or 5 teams, isn't there? So it's if they can win that. I would probably bet yes, because what I've seen so far, that you know, he's a good coach. They all seem to be going in the right direction. You just need someone up top to put the balls in put the ball in the net. But they've just got to stick by the guns. This is the way you're going to play. You can't change it. So that's to answer your question.
Yeah, that's fair. Callum, you will definitely know Pochettino best out of all of us. He was a manager for, what was it, 4 or 5 years? 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years or so, I think.
5 years, yeah. Relatively successful if you want to talk about, title challenges, Champions League content. My English is gone. Qualify for the Champions League year upon year out is what I meant to say. But looking at his Chelsea run so far, now you know him best. His style of football, his approach to using younger players, which obviously Chelsea have used a lot of their money on buying a lot of younger players. Are you looking at his situation and saying, if I'm a Chelsea fan, I should relax a little bit, things will be fine, knowing what he can do? Or are you looking at him and saying something's not completely clicking just yet?
I think from a Spurs perspective, the way Chelsea have started the season brings me immense joy. You know, seeing them lose so many games at the start of the season is beautiful to see. And I'm enjoying it while I can, because I do think it's all going to click into place. I mean, they've signed so many new players over the last few windows, so many young players, like you said, that, they were never going to, everyone's never going to hit the ground running. They've had so many injuries as well that it's no surprise that they've started the season in the way they have. But I do think Pochettino's the right man to, once everyone's back from injury, he can start really working through the squad, getting to know all the players and how they play. I feel like, I don't know how long it's going to take. Maybe it takes a season, maybe it takes 2 seasons, but sometime in the future, Chelsea are going to be very scary with all these signings. So the way they've started now, I'm just enjoying it for as long as it lasts. And I do think, Pochettino is very good with young players. He does play a very good brand of football. Albeit he does make some questionable decisions like he did at Spurs, and I'm seeing a lot of Chelsea fans aren't happy with the way he's got Chilwell playing left wing and things like that. But if I was a Chelsea fan, which I thank God I'm not, I would trust him. I would trust him going forward.
Basil, as Theo said, you guys are approaching a fixture with Chelsea very, very soon. Genuine feelings towards that game, looking at how they've performed so far?
We should get 3 points. I personally, Chelsea have bigger problems, more problems that people are overlooking. First and foremost, I don't rate Pochettino that highly. I think the 2 things Callum said is correct in terms of he works well with young players. He has a good brand of football, but I think tactically has always been found wanting. And I think even when I look at his PSG stint, it told me one thing, that he doesn't know how to handle big players with big personalities, which is why he works well with the younger players, personally. I think Chelsea have bigger problems, irrespective of the injuries, and I've been saying this for a long time. They've got too many players to work with, and that, for me, doesn't matter what managers is anybody's nightmare, because the issue you're going to find is that the players they've brought in, they brought them in with the mindset that they want to be first-team players. Now, at some point, he's going to have to settle with a stable 12 or 13 that he's going to trust, what happens to the other players? And you're not talking about players who are on 3-4 year contracts, you're talking about players on 7-year contracts. So when they're unhappy, that creates problems in the clubs, at the club. And then how do you shift players who are on that length of contract when things get tough? I personally don't think Chelsea will do well over a long period of time because I think they just have too many players to create a stable environment for players. To create a stable environment for the players to thrive, because I think that squad is too unmanageable, which we've seen last season and we've seen also at the start of this season. Because obviously, as much as Pochettino's complained about the injuries, he still has enough players to make a selection from. And so the issue is when the other players return, what happens then? Like someone like Mudryk can't even get a run of 3-4 games, you know. There's other players that they bring can't get a run of 3 or 4 games. How do you manage that squad? In terms of the match against Arsenal, I'm very confident that we'll beat Chelsea. I don't rate Chelsea at all. I think some of their victories, they're getting it just by the skin of their teeth. I'm not that impressed with them because I don't feel the players as a whole have fully gelled yet. And I question whether the players will fully gel because like I said, at some point you're going to have to pick a stable 12 and then the rest, how do you manage players? Because you can have players where they're happy to accept being squad players, but I don't think they've brought in these players with the idea that they're happy to be squad players. So we'll see what happens there.
Fair. Phil?
No, I mean, I don't really. I agree with some of that, but I don't because we lost a lot of players in the summer. You know, you look at our midfield. Our midfield was gone. Kovacic, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Christian Pulisic went. Callum Hudson-Odoi. So there's a lot of players that left as well. And
these
even
guys
the season before,
but they weren't regulars. I guess you can question whether they were regular
a lot
players.
of them were. You know, a lot of them were. A lot of them played a good chunk of football. Obviously, Callum Hudson-Odoi was on loan, but even Koulibaly went. You know, we lost Aspilicueta, so we brought players in, but a lot of players have also left as well. So I think we've kind of balanced out in terms of the numbers in the team. And I think some of these players, what I will say is a lot of these players I think have been brought in based on potential, not what can they actually do right now. And that's a worry because, you know, you want to, if you're going to have someone on an 8-year, 7-year deal, you want to have some sort of understanding that they're going to have a level of quality that's going to be able to compete in the Premier League or in the Champions League eventually, hopefully, or a European competition. If they can't do that and you've got a player that's going to be sitting there, you know, we've seen it before with a lot of these players like Bakayokos and certain players that we've had at the club previously where they've just, you know, walked down their contract. Ross Barkley was one of them. He had to get his contract terminated eventually, but that worries me. But in terms of the quality that we've got now, I think we've balanced out the squad. For me personally, the numbers. My only other issue is that we still need a goalkeeper for me, a number one of a top quality, because although Sanchez is playing well, I wouldn't say that he's going to be able to push us if we want to go for a Premier League or if we want to try and get back into European football. I don't think he's the goalkeeper. I don't think we've got a striker. So it's a worry that we spent £1 billion and we still have to question where's the striker, where's the goalkeeper after that. That's how I was meant to transfer strategy at the very start of this when we were signing Cucurella, you know, when we signed all these players, Koulibaly, who has been and gone. It wasn't there. There was no transfer strategy. So that worries me. But I think it's just going to be a patient game. You know, if you're a Chelsea fan, you have to be in this for the next 5, 6, 7 years and just see how it plans out. If you don't want to do that, then you better find a new sport to watch and follow.
Theo, would you take De Gea?
Someone else asked me this. Do you know what? If he was 10 years younger, I'd probably say yeah. But the time, I mean, he was on big wages at United, wasn't he, as well? I can't imagine him wanting to even shift 5% of his wage. I think that's why a club hasn't touched him.
Well, to be fair, he agreed to more than 50% of a wage cut at United, and they kind of took that away from him again. So maybe
with what bonuses though on top of that?
Oh, I'm not involved in those ones. I don't know.
But I wouldn't take him.
Either. He'd be coming on free, so there's not the fee you'd have to pay.
I wouldn't take him. To be fair, I think the way that the club's going at the moment, and obviously the vision that they've got, they want to sign anyone that's below, 23 or younger, which it might work, but there's a massive chance that it's not going to work. So you can't do that for me.
Number 2?
Well, we've got a number 2. But
who's number 2?
Well, you got Bettinelli, you got Petrovic, who just come in as well. So he's only played one game. I think he played in the Carabao Cup recently, but we need a solid goalkeeper. De Gea is has been a very good goalkeeper and still is, to be fair. But in terms of the vision of the club, I can see them looking for someone a bit younger. And obviously, we've got to remember Kepa's still. I mean, I know he's on loan, but he's still a Chelsea goalkeeper. So have to see how that goes as well.
True. All right. Well, a club that spent $1 billion but not happy with their squad. Where does that sound familiar? Let's go from Turf Moor to the theatre of drama. Rodri, a win for United after, 5 losses in 7 games. So now it's 5 losses in 8 games, but it's a win nonetheless. 3 points on the sheet. Firstly, thoughts on the game. Were you, I mean, leading up to the goal anyway, that Man United equalized, it was looking like another day of just United, just, I guess, being United. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, the same. You just rinse and repeat. That's what I thought it was going to be. But give him credit. And Scott McTominay coming on and saving the day, really. But yeah, it's a sad state of affairs at the minute. I've been fortunate to see a lot of good players at Old Trafford. There's not a lot there at the minute. But it's been better than it was. I no way would have thought to myself I would have preferred Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire to start the season. But that's where we're at the minute.
Yeah.
It's just it's worrying. It's worrying because all these teams that Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, they're all getting better and they all will get better. So and we've spent a lot of money on crap, basically, or players that are just not really that good. I like the look of Amrabat. We need to get the left back really quickly because that's the problem. But yeah, Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans are best centre halves at the minute. That's where Manchester United's at. So the young kid looks decent. The wingers are terrible. Anthony, terrible. Sancho, just a baby. Rashford, just open the gate, just run through it. So there's a lot of money spent there, and they're all crap. And that's that's all. I'm only going off the wingers I've seen in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Nani would walk through all them and be a starter. So, and he wasn't that great at United. So,
well,
not good. It's not even that's after a win as well. But we'll just end on a positive with a 2-1 win, and hopefully they come back. We've got Sheffield United, and we've got City at home. So, so we'll see where we're at there, because usually we get a tonking, especially when we're at home as well. So we'll see where we're at. Hopefully we've got the players back and we can kind of put up a good fight. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
Neither am I. If I can put my 2 pence in here real quick, I have been utterly stressed looking at this team for the last, I never know how long it's been. I'll put it to you like this. This podcast was supposed to start about 4 weeks earlier. I haven't been in the mood. I just decided, you know what, let's get this going now. And luckily for me, we actually got a goal. And I celebrated because it's it's a last minute winner. Of course, you're gonna celebrate that. But you wake up on the Sunday, you're like, wow, man, we're still doing this. You just don't trust.
It's not a celebration, it's relief. It's more relief than celebration. It's like, don't have to take shit at work for the week.
Yeah, exactly. Kid you not. One of my bosses is a Man City fan, and he opened the door, walked into the office, and he saw me from a distance, and he because they lost, which we'll get to, but because they lost, he just turned around and went straight to the kitchen. I was like, this is a nice feeling. It's nice. I'd have to go there and be like, he's like, oh, how's your weekend, man? Don't do that, It's nice. But yes, it is relief. It is relief. Relief is the truth. We're struggling badly, and you can say there's a number of things: injuries, lack of cohesion. But Man United have had lack of cohesion for the last. When did we win the league? 2013, so 2014 onwards, I guess. So 9 years? Just been a joke all over the board. But hopefully they can go into the international break smiling and come back into a bit of form, and hopefully beat Sheffield United before the doomsday match against Man City. But Basil, I'll ask you because I don't want to get into the negatives, but I have to ask the question. It's been a long time since we've done this podcast. A lot of United fans and a lot of football fans in general are starting to really, really be irritated by the performances of Bruno Fernandes. I'm going to ask this question. Give me as honest an answer as you can give me. Is Bruno Fernandes a massive problem to this Manchester United side, or are our signings in and around him being a detriment to him being as productive as he can be for United?
No, Bruno's an enigma. It's not straightforward to assess Bruno. Ultimately, I'll say this: Bruno's not a good footballer because in his mind he wants to attempt things. His execution of things is very, very poor. What Bruno is, he's an effective player for you. He's very effective in terms of he will always create a chance or be in a position to score goals. But as an overall footballer, he's a very poor footballer. He doesn't keep the ball well. His passing isn't great. His execution of things just isn't great. What he is he has numbers to back him up. But if you look at his performances as a whole, not good. And I think ultimately managers have been misusing Bruno because I wouldn't play Bruno in big games. I think Bruno is well adept to play maybe when you're playing the smaller teams. But when it comes to the big games and you're asking him to become influential, just doesn't happen. And that's the issue, is that Bruno just isn't influential in the most important games. So he's an enigma in terms of he can create something for you and he can score you a goal. But if you look at his overall performance, it's always wanting. And yeah, I don't know how to describe Bruno because, like I said, he can come up with a goal, create a chance. But then at the same time, if you watch him for a whole 90 minutes, he's a very, very frustrating player to watch. So is one of those, do you keep him because he can score a goal, or do you take him off because he's not that effective in the game? And that's the conundrum with Bruno. So I personally don't know how to describe Bruno because he can be effective, but for most parts, ineffective. But it's a weird one. But I'll say this before I hand over to anyone else. I said the biggest issue United had was their summer signings. I remember when they were making signings, people were praising it. I said, absolutely not. I said, because they targeted the wrong areas. One, you didn't need a goalkeeper for me, because that wasn't a priority position. You basically got rid of De Gea, who, and I say it to a lot of people, who saved you a lot of points. Yes, he made mistakes, but he made a lot of worldly saves and saved you a lot of points. You replace him with a Nana who's good with his feet, but I said he's not a great goalkeeper. So the points that De Gea saves you, he won't save you. Then you're wasting money on Mason Mount, which I don't think was the right profile for you. And then Højlund, remains to be seen how he adapts. So in the end, I looked at it and said, it's still the same United squad from last season. So I don't think you've really strengthened effectively. And I think that's the reason why we're seeing United in the slump that they're in, because it's still effectively the same players that you've had over the last year or two.
I might be the I don't know how you feel, Rodri. I might be the only Man United fan that doesn't have an issue with Mason Mount yet.
What does he do for you?
No. This is the thing. He's not done. He hasn't done much for us, but I don't feel like we have used it, or we're not playing him in a way that would maximize what he can give. Thing is, I struggle to look at football these days because I know football is more about the systems, it's instruction based, it's heavy on instructions. I need you to press a certain way. That's why you come into the squad you're playing here, but I need you to do this job. I'm used to players being told that yes, you will play in this formation, you will know your role, you know what you're doing, but there is an element of you're allowed to be creative on your feet. If you feel like something's not right in the situation, go out there and do it. Unless instead now it's if you do something and it's against the instruction given, you're punished. I don't like that. And I feel like with Mason Mount, yes, he is good at the press. So he's a pressing machine, if you must. He's a decent creator per se, but I don't think we're using him in a. Essentially, I'm very confused when we're playing games and I'm seeing him sort of like in a much deeper role. He's very much an advanced footballer. He's not someone that's defensively strong. So let him press from the front, and if he doesn't get there, I don't expect to see him sort of near the D of our box. I expect to see him around the halfway line where he can create a bit more damage and link play quickly and get moving. But that's just my thought.
Casemiro's a big problem for me. You look at him, he's just so slow, and all of these midfielders in the Premier League so athletic and quick. He's so slow. Yes, the experience will get you to a certain extent, but when you've got Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes who are erratic with the running and not staying in position, and then he gets isolated, people have just been killing that and just killing him and making him look like a bad player. And he's not a bad player. We've seen that last year, but people are isolating him now and getting in a position where he's one-on-one.
Yeah.
And he's just got no chance. He's just so many times he's made errors this year. And it's making Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, and others look bad as well. But it's just, with Amrabat there now, I don't think Casemiro should be nowhere near that squad, that team in a minute.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm thinking at this point, once Amrabat gets fully sort of used to the squad, then he'll be the man taking that spot. That's what I'm assuming anyway, but I could be wrong. Callum, and just come in, I suppose, as we spoke about earlier. He's got a brand of football going. He's not playing the players that he knows would essentially be a letdown. So you're not seeing Dyer in the starting 11. Højbjerg is now a sub player. What are your thoughts on Erik ten Hag? Is he maximizing what he can be using, or more to the point, is he as ruthless as he kind of says he is, but isn't really showing him out well? What do you think, anyway?
See, I'm kind of torn on Ten Hag. When I think about Man United, I'm more look about their issues in terms of players. I feel like they've got a whole heap of issues right now. I mean, off the field stuff with Sancho and whatnot. To be honest, I don't think Ten Hag dealt with that terribly. I know, it's quite divided. People are 50-50. I don't think what he initially said was that bad. I feel like that's more on Sancho to kind of buck his ideas up. And essentially, at the end of the day, you've got to listen to your manager, I think. Maybe that's an old-fashioned view of things. I don't think Ten Hag was too wrong in the way that he called him out. I don't think it was too disrespectful, if anything.
Yeah.
But in terms of the players on the pitch, I just feel like United's biggest issue is a lack of consistency. And we touched on Bruno Fernandes earlier, and there's quite a few aspects of Bruno that I rate, but big games he goes missing. As Basil said, I think the best way to describe him is an enigma. It's kind of hard to pinpoint. You can't call him a world-class player. At the same time, he's not. I don't think he's a bad footballer at all. I think he can create a lot for United, but big games he doesn't turn up. Again, lack of consistency when we talk about Rashford. He's someone that he will have 6 or 7 game run where he's banging goals and looking like one of the best players in the league, and then he'll go cold for 4 or 5 weeks. So I think when I look at the United squad, the biggest issue is consistency. Whether that's down to Ten Hag or down to the profile of players, for me, it's hard to really put a finger on it. But United are that team that in the last few years that just haven't scared me.
Yeah.
And it's weird to think about that because growing up, United were the team you never wanted to play. And I feel like you're so far removed from that identity that, it's just United haven't been United for a long time now. So whether that's down to Ten Hag, whether that's down to the way the Glazers manage the club, whether that's down to the profile of players, I honestly couldn't tell you.
I can tell you the day that I realized Man United didn't have the fear factor anymore. It's when we had Schneiderlin and Schweinsteiger in midfield and we called it Schmidfield. But Theo, final question on United and then we'll move on. I haven't really given Brentford much credit. Brentford played really well, actually. So, credit to them as well. They're actually really good.
That goalkeeper was bought off. That's all I'm saying.
Goalkeepers are not as good as they used to be, man. Speaking of goalkeepers, Nana, you mentioned his name at the beginning of the show. So Basil said that he thinks United didn't need to address the goalkeeping issue straight away. A lot of United fans will argue against that because they wanted a goalkeeper that could pass with his feet. Now, the question I'm asking you is this: have Man United sacrificed shot stopping for passing?
I mean, is he the best distributor of the ball as well? Possibly not. So I think ultimately you want your goalkeeper to be able to save the ball. Yeah, bonus if he can play out from the back and he's got good distribution. To me, that's a bonus. But do you know what I mean? You want your goalkeeper to be able to save the ball. That's his job. So I think it was the right time for De Gea to move on because I think the pressure of him playing week in, week out he probably wanted a new challenge. Let's be honest. He wanted to go back to Spain. We knew that anyway a couple of seasons ago when the move that didn't happen. We know that he wanted that. So I think United fans have to be patient with Onana. I don't think they've got a choice now. I think he's there. He came with a good reputation, remember, or a very good, okayish reputation before he moved over. But you know, he has made some massive mistakes in his early times as a United. But De Gea was the same, I'm sure. Was he not the same? He had a rough start to his United career, and then
the only difference,
everything crosses, wasn't it? It just kept
but you could argue in De Gea's favor that he was a lot younger, so
you'd expect the experience to be there for Onana. I get it, but look, goalkeepers must be one of the hardest jobs on the pitch. Let's be honest, because you got to be, like someone just said. I can't remember who said it, but there's not many decent goalkeepers around now. To be fair, there's not that many. So to answer your question, yes, I think they have sacrificed that, but at the same time, just give him time, give him patience. This is what his first season. How many games has he played? 10? Taking away the Europa game. Keep saying Europa, the Champions. I'm just used to United being in Europa, but the Champions League games.
Good to hear from you, man.
I know. Sorry.
Back fours as he had in front of him as well.
Yeah, it's true. But I do want to say McTominay. Now, I think one of the comments said, but yeah, I've always been a big believer in McTominay. You know, I think he needs to play more for United. I know United fans probably won't agree with that, but for me, and I'm not saying that because he scored the 2 goals. I've been saying this for 2-3 years now, 2 years at least. But he's someone that should be in that team for me, and I don't know why he doesn't get games. Maybe I'm not watching on.
The problem is not there. Is that he's attached to Fred, isn't it? When that McFred.
Yeah, but that's the only thing I can think of why he doesn't get games is because of how he played when he was alongside Fred. But he's a good player. He really is.
He is a good player. He's not a very good footballer, but he's strong. He's quick, and
he's got an engine on him. He does what he needs to do, and that's what I think United needs: someone who's able to just get the job done. None of these flashy Mason Mount players. And I mean, how much did you pay for Mason Mount? I mean, that's looking like where's the receipt? Because we need to send him back.
That's up there with Havertz as a backside.
That's what I mean. We sold you short there, but
60 million. Where have you got that from?
Yeah.
But Theo, would you take him at Chelsea?
Who, McTominay?
Yeah, McTominay.
We've just spent £1 billion. We can't.
because of the thing is, I'll say this. Sometimes people say that certain players should play in teams. I think it's quite sad and indictment because it shows how the levels have fallen. Because if I compare McTominay to what United used to be, he wouldn't be nowhere near that squad. But seeing sometimes we drop our standards to say certain players should be playing, and we're like, no, they shouldn't be of the quality to be at that club in the first place. And maybe this is me being harsh, but you look at City and the standard they've set, you have to be of a certain standard or else you're not playing out of the club. Look at someone like Calvin Phillips. They spent how much on him? Pep has realised very quickly you're not of the standard. He's not playing games. And I think
City's different though. Is City City's slightly different to what like United's levels have dropped. So I think that's just the reality of the club. They're not the team they were. So I think they are. He is the player that should be in that team because of where United. No disrespect to United, but that's where they are. Like Chelsea. If someone said so, yeah. To answer your question, if we hadn't spent £1 billion, McTominay probably would actually fit into Chelsea's squad because of where we are.
In certain games, McTominay would be a good asset for United, but against the better teams, he doesn't keep the ball well. He's he's strong and powerful, but as a footballer, technically, no.
But who does in your team at the moment? I suppose that's the question.
You go back over the years and think, would he get in at that midfield? It's tough to even put him in the squad. So, it's like Basil says that it's amazing how your standards are dropped. But Annie's had come through the ranks as well. But I can remember one good game playing against Barcelona. That was like 3 years ago.
Right. Well, I guess we'll move on from United. Let's go Brighton, Liverpool, shall we? Just briefly on that one as well, because we need to be cautious of time and the big game coming up as well. Firstly, let's go Callum. Liverpool 4th, so they're not in a bad position. Getting a decent amount of results in so far. I don't know if you saw the alleged handball by.
Nah, I didn't. Like I said, I didn't manage to. I didn't get time to
Yeah.
watch
So
it.
I mean, I'll give you a description that you can just say if it's a penalty or not, because we know the laws now. But ball struck in, hits his thigh, hits his forearm. Penalty or not?
Nah.
There you go. That's it. Then simple as that. That being said, though, after all the hurrah of Liverpool, who were wrongfully denied a goal at Spurs, and somehow still managed to make themselves the villains of the story by their fans being stupidly annoying.
When's the replay?
Well, I'm waiting for that game.
You know they're still going on about it. They're still talking about it.
Ridiculous. They were given the right decision in this one. Brighton as well, though. But I do want to discuss Brighton more than Liverpool, to be completely honest, because Brighton are a team who we all are aware are a good team. They've managed to buy some good players over the times. When they lose a player, they bring another player in. Looks like the spoke on the wheel just keeps turning. But for you, Callum, the way they started the season, inconsistent in Europe, do you think they've hit a ceiling and they're struggling to sort of adapt to their new surroundings of being in European competition as well as being a domestic team?
I mean, I think it's weird to me that I feel like all of a sudden people are turning on Brighton. I think the last few years everyone's kind of been a fan of the way Brighton have been playing, and they've kind of been that underdog team that have been playing well and everyone likes. But I've seen people saying they're getting too big for their boots. Their social media admins taking digs at, I think it's taking digs at Onana and other clubs over the last few weeks. Ultimately, they're still doing well in the Prem. I think they've only lost. What was it? They've only lost 2 games so far. I
Yeah.
think they won 4 or 5 or something. I think they've started decently, and I don't know how they keep maintaining it. I feel like every season Brighton lose 2 or 3 of their biggest and best players, and they still kind of remain somewhat consistent, still stay true to their identity and their football. So I still like Brighton, and I think I've been somewhat impressed with them still.
Problem is they've set such a high bar for themselves
Yeah.
last year. It's difficult to maintain that, like Callum says, when you lose 2 or 3 best players every year. Difficult.
Yeah, and I think for me, regardless of that, I still don't have expectations of Brighton. I still don't expect them to suddenly be competing for Europa League every season. I'm still looking at them as that underdog team. I think the difference is a lot of other people are now placing expectations on them to maintain, stay in 6th or 7th every season, despite, by the end of the season, they're going to lose another couple of players. Ferguson will probably go somewhere. They're going to lose players. So for me, like I said, looking at Brighton as that underdog team still, I can't not be impressed with them.
Yeah, I think just because when you're looking at them, obviously what they did last season, they are 6th, so they're actually not in a terrible position at all. They're doing very well. They started the season well, and they managed to sign Ansu Fati. He's alone, but that's a player with reputation. He's coming from a big team as well, so I guess for them, they're gonna look. A lot of people will look at Brian and say, maybe you're setting pace. I will say this though, that Onana video kind of triggered me a little bit, but I'm gonna move past that. On to the next game. Newcastle found out that West Ham are not PSG. They drew 2-2 at the London Stadium. Good game. Basil, expectations for Newcastle this year. If you are a Newcastle fan, what would be a good season for Newcastle United?
I think getting to the knockout stages of Champions League would be a good season considering that group. And maybe 6th or 7th would be good. A good finish for them. I think they did ride their luck a bit last season, and the reason I say that's because they actually had a lot of draws last season. I know there was a period they were unbeaten, but then if you look at how many draws they had, a lot. And last season was a freak season because you had a season where Liverpool were bad, Chelsea were bad, and Manchester United were bad. Obviously, Liverpool picked things up. You're waiting for the likes of Chelsea and Manchester United to get going at some point. But like I said, the likes of Brighton are there, Aston Villa are there, who are a lot more competitive. So they're not going to get all their way this season. I think if they finish anywhere between 5th and 7th, it's still a good season because even though they've got to the Champions League, I don't think it's about getting their consistency, and I don't know if they have the squad yet to be a consistent top 4 challenging team. So I think ultimately they should temper the expectations and be looking for steady progress, and steady progress is consistently being a top 7 team and then taking the next steps to challenge effectively for top four. So I think Newcastle have a good squad ethos. I don't think they have the array of quality of players overall. They have good quality, but I mean they don't have the depth in quality squad wise. And there's still a few players who I don't think are up to the standard. But I think as a good team and the team ethos is good, and they've got a decent manager. But I think sixth or anywhere between fifth and seventh for me will be a good finish for Newcastle.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are at this point all aware that the Champions League format changes next season. So I believe the top 5 English teams would go through to the knockout. So it would be interesting. Fifth is now an interesting spot as well. At this point, they're going to start calling it a top 8 or something. So I'm even getting tired. But it's infuriating. Theo, West Ham. Truth be told, I just want to ask about David Moyes actually, and it's nothing bad. I think they've started the season decently as well. In Europe, they're quite comfortable, and he's made some good signings as well. In what's his name, Ward-Prowse coming in as well in particular. But looking at how they're playing, is there an element of them still missing Declan Rice, or has Alvarez came in and sort of just put his stamp in the team and said, "Let's go from here"?
I think they're doing all right. Where are they? They're 7th in the league, I think. I think they're okay. I think they're a team very much like Brighton for me. I don't expect them to be 7th in the league at this point, to be fair. I think David Moyes, to be fair, again, is a good manager. I think that's kind of his level. I think he has obviously managed higher than that with United, but I do think this is probably his level, and he done really well. Well, West Ham done really well last season, so I don't think they're missing Declan Rice. I like Kudus as well. I think he's a good player. Yeah, I mean, he's a really good player. So I think he scored as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
For the weekend. So really good goal. So I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be fine. Like I said, I like David Moyes. I think he's a good manager. But early days still. There's another team, West London team, that will hopefully be in and amongst the 7th or 6th place come the end of this season. So we'll see.
It's early. You might still be in the top 5. You just never know. Football changes.
I'll take the top half of the table right now, to be fair.
I hear that. Let's go to Wolves and Aston Villa drew 1-1. Lovely. Right, let's go to the big game. Let's go to the big game of the weekend. That was Arsenal versus Manchester City, which ended 1-0 to the Arsenal. Another last-minute deflected goal, but I always say this: you create your own luck in football. And Martinelli took the shot. Deflection is not his problem. The 3 points are his problem, and Arsenal can wave all 3 points. Finally, I think since 2017 they haven't beaten Man City, so getting a positive result, big win for them. Can't say much about a title race, but it is, I guess, first blood if you're talking about or first round shots anyway. You're talking about in a boxing capacity. Basil, let's start with your team first. You were very, very happy, of course. I can see the smile on your face from a mile away when that game was finished. I wanted to text your friend, my cousin. I didn't want to message him after all. But anyway, good result.
Yeah.
But just looking at the aspects of the game, did you feel like it was a chess match, or do you think there was a game sort of just lacking a bit of quality, at least until the end anyway?
Yeah, definitely wasn't a chess match. Definitely one of the worst games of football I've watched in a very long time. On a personal, I think what that game showed, I think that game is indicative of where football kind of is now. Personally, in terms of there's no individual star brilliance from players of that much. You don't have players who can kind of just get you off your feet, take the game at the scruff of the neck, and be the one to lead the team to something. I didn't see that from any player at City in that game, and I didn't see it from Arsenal. I think, as you said, you mentioned it earlier, that games now is about tactics and instructions and less about kind of players being a bit more creative or having that individualism to be the main star in that game. And watching that game, that was one thing I noticed. Arsenal definitely did well. I think it's probably the best we've kept possession against Manchester City in a long time. Sometimes we keep possession for possession's sake, but we struggle to do anything with the ball. I think in the early parts, we definitely struggled in terms of the press with City, because there's a lot of times maybe the ball didn't go forward as much, but I think we're quite comfortable in possession. And usually against City, we're definitely not. We're definitely like bullied possession-wise against City. Another thing I did notice is that I don't think City are the same. I think some of the players they've sold, I know they did have a few injuries, but I think some of the players they've sold has come back to hurt them. I think the likes of Mahrez, losing him is key because he offers you something different. Losing Gundogan is key and because he offers you something different. And what that means is that when City have injuries, it impacts them a lot more than it did in the past. Because obviously losing the likes of Rodri and De Bruyne in that game was quite key. And in the past, they could easily have lost those players and still gone about their business and claimed that victory. And I think losing those kind of players, I think, has hurt them a bit more than they were expecting because certain players who are there, just the manager doesn't trust them. So with Rodri being out, it should be a shoo-in for the likes of Calvin Phillips to come into the squad. But clearly, the manager doesn't trust him or think he's of the quality to put him in that kind of match. Instead, he's having to play Rico Lewis there. And then, left back, I think, was it Guardiola that played left back that game? So you can see that maybe the depth in quality for City just isn't there as it was in the past. But I have no doubt that it won't be an issue long term, that they will address that as time goes by. But as Arsenal, like I said, it's positives because it's been a long time since we've got a result against City, and it's one of those matches, get a result by any means possible, and then hopefully that builds confidence throughout the season.
Absolutely. Callum, Arsenal were the closest challengers last in City. Obviously, eventually City went away with it. But both of you have started the season pretty much, same points and everything. You're on top in terms of goal scored and goal difference, of course. So you started the season, talking about statistically slightly better. But when you look at Arsenal, are they finally, in your eyes anyway, do you think they're starting to establish themselves again as a genuine threat, as a potential Premier League champion once again? Or do you think they're going through almost like a phase where they've had in the past where Arsenal have really impressed, but then there's always this moment where the inevitable happens and there's always just faltering? Do you feel like there's a change of, I guess, mentality that you're seeing there now, that you can feel like every year Arsenal can really go for something in the league anyway?
It's a tough one. I think Arsenal are absolutely a threat these days. I think the international breaks probably come at a bad time for them because for me, football is a lot about momentum and confidence, and beating City after not beating them for 6 years in the league or something is huge for them. I think it's a big test of their character. Obviously, City have had big players missing, but for me, Arsenal have kept last season, at the start of last season when they started really well and they maintained it for most of the season. I was waiting for them to drop off, as the season progressed, and I think they showed how good that squad is and how good Arteta is until the end where they bottled it. But I think with Man City in the league, it's almost impossible to really think that Arsenal can win it. But I absolutely think they're on an upwards trajectory. I think if they continue adding depth to the team, Arsenal, as much as I hate to admit it, they're looking scary. And I think this season will be no different. They're going to be right up there towards the end. Who knows if they're going to drop off? But yeah, I don't like what I'm seeing at Arsenal, to be honest.
Yeah, never do I. But they're doing well. They're playing very well. But we'll go to City as well. Now, Rodri, they've lost, was it two league games in a row? They lost to Wolves.
Three.
It's lost three in a row because they also lost League Cup to Newcastle.
Okay, yeah. So domestically, they've lost 3 in a row. I know they won the Champions League game. Okay. I want to ask about Haaland. I'm not now. Anyone that's listening to this, please, we're not doubting Haaland. Please relax. But the question is being put out there about, when he's missing Kevin De Bruyne, or that, what is his overall game? Is he really a Ballon d'Or candidate? And my argument is, well, he's a pure number 9. So unless you're expecting a pure goal scoring number 9 to suddenly become, I don't know, Frank Lampard, Ronaldinho overnight, it's not going to happen. But did he look lost in that game against Arsenal? Is it a thing where we can look at him and say it's not a crisis for a striker team not scoring 3 games, but are we looking at him and saying maybe there is a formula to stopping him scoring goals?
Yes, but yesterday was a bit different because they were both cagey, weren't they? They looked like it was a game where no one wanted to get beat. So then he's feeding off scraps, and he's not a type of player that's going to create a goal, like a striker that's going to come deep and get it and beat 2 or 3 players. That's just not his game. So plus last year he was new, people didn't really know about him. People know about him now, so they've studied a lot of games over him and how to play him better. So you probably got to put that into the mix as well. But you're going to miss Kevin De Bruyne. He's one of the best players in the world who can put a ball on a sixpence for anyone.
Yeah.
But you have that rapport with players, and they seem to have that rapport where it just clicks. But yesterday, I don't think you can go off yesterday because, like I said, it was a cagey game. It looked like it was going to go with 0-0, and then Arsenal nicked it in the end. But Arsenal, the only worry I've got for Arsenal is that they haven't got an elite striker. I mean, top striker. Jesus, he's okay. He'll get you 15 goals. Nikita, he's on the verge of being Ian Wright, but he's just not Ian Wright.
He's nowhere. He's a poor striker.
Very far from Ian
That's
Wright.
a bold shout, man.
Nowhere near.
He's not even close to Darren Bent.
He's sharp. He makes movements, but just the finishing and the all round balance of Ian Wright, which they shouldn't be in the same conversation, to be honest. But yeah, Ballon d'Or, no way. No, our player can have 10 touches a game and being the Ballon d'Or is an embarrassment.
But I would argue. I mean, not argue. That's. I don't argue for him, but he scored a crazy amount of goals last season. His first season in what they call the most competitive league in the world. So, are they just crazy to put him in there, or are we?
No, it's just a what's the right word?
Plays for City. Let's be honest. He plays for City.
But he scored a lot of goals, so
he did. But you just hit the nail on the head, though. He touches the ball 10 times.
Throw him in there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He touches the ball 10 times, and then that's it, and then he's in there. I'm not saying that he's not. I mean, look, he's a traditional number 9, so that's his job to score goals. But at the same time, there's other people for me personally that need to be also give them their flowers or whatever as well.
Is Messi the overriding favourite then? Yes. Are we having another Messi here?
Yes, of course he is. He won the World Cup.
Yeah, I know, but maybe it's just me because I do everything domestically at PSG. It was a stinker. It wasn't good.
But Ballon d'Or's more political.
He's still the best footballer in the world. All now, even if he's in America chilling with Beckham and that, all now he's still the best footballer in the world.
Yeah, I can't argue.
And for me, Ballon d'Or is for the best footballer in the world. I know, Haaland's had a great year, won the treble, banged all these goals, fair enough. But like Rodri said, the man has 8-9 touches a game. He's on the end of everything. Fair play. A number 9's job is to score goals. He scores goals. He's not the best footballer in the world by a long stretch.
He's probably the best finisher in the world.
That's the difference.
Second best.
Oh, Kane.
Behave. Come on, man.
I agree personally.
Much better football. I would rather have Harry Kane in my team.
He does more. He does more, doesn't he?
So,
yeah.
Kane is a bit.
The strikers that in that team last year would have got 40, 50 goals. I stick a Ruud van Nistelrooy and Van Persie. Or it's just there's a lot of strikers. A Drogba, a Rooney. They would all score 40, 50, 45 goals in that City team.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with the way defending is now, anyway, I think they do. I think Kevin Phillips at Sunderland 30. I think he's hit 45.
Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler. This list goes on.
Yeah,
the finishers that will get the chances in that City team. It's frightening.
True. Yeah, we've had a lot of killers.
His movement is really good for a big fella. He's really sharp, but Ballon d'Or, no chance.
All right, then that's the Ballon d'Or shout straight away. Theo, just quickly to sum up on the game. Arsenal and the title race, as I asked earlier, but I will want to ask you this as well. What should be their main ambition this season? Because, I mean, everyone has City as the overriding favourite. although I will argue and I will say this, knowing from experience, that after you win 3 in a row, it is not very easy to win the 4th because everyone's coming for your neck. But yeah, back to that one. Do Arsenal genuinely have the ability to, I hate saying this, but it's what everyone says now, stop City?
I think they need a striker. I think they need a decent striker. I'm not saying that Jesus isn't. But I think Roger just said it.
He isn't.
I mean, he can score goals, but I think they need someone who's going to be a bit more. And I don't know who this person is, so I'm saying it, but maybe Ivan Toney. I know even he's not really the answer.
Yeah.
But I think they need someone who's a bit more prolific in front of goal, someone that can stay injury free as well. They're the closest to City. I mean, people talk about Liverpool, but I think, you know, it's open. Why not? Why can't they? I think they can. They're playing good football under Arteta. He's gotten playing some brilliant football the last couple of seasons. So yeah, I don't see why they can't. It's going to be hard because obviously City is City and they know when to switch it on at the right moment. But Arsenal can do it.
Yeah,
Arsenal can do it.
All right. Before we wrap up, hold on. I need to ask you a question quickly. Sorry. Did you like Declan Rice before he joined you?
No, not really.
Well, what are your thoughts now? Because I'll tell you. What are your thoughts now? Be honest.
No, but I think still people are overrating what he's doing at Arsenal. I think he's a good asset to what Arsenal he's doing good for Arsenal.
Yeah.
But then he's for me he's doing what he was doing at West Ham at Arsenal. I don't think he's any better. I think he's in a better team, but showing the same quality he showed at West Ham. But I don't think he's great going forward. I think he's good discipline. He's a good disciplined player and brings us the discipline that we've been missing. But I don't think he's that influential in games personally. But that's my opinion. I think he's a good. I don't think he's nowhere near what we paid for him. He's a good player for our team. I'm trying to believe my word. He's a good player for our team, but I don't think he's all that personally. Still personally, but I like him in our team.
I think he's fantastic, man. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I don't see it personally. Like people are saying he was man of the match yesterday, and I thought once again that's ridiculous considering what the likes of William Saliba and co were doing at the back. I would have had William Saliba and Gabriel over him. I think William Saliba won man of the match. I think he was awarded man of the match.
Who's plugging the holes to stop the ball going to the Saliba and the Gabriels?
Yeah, no, which is why I rate him for what he does from a defensive point of view. I think going forward, I don't see it personally.
He's never been a great offensive.
I think that's what you got him.
You'll be surprised as to people who think he is personally.
They're wrong. I think you brought him in the team to do the job that he's doing.
Yeah,
I think
from a defensive point of view, as a DM, I think he's doing I think doing a fantastic job.
Yeah,
I don't see. I think a lot of people think he does a lot more than that in terms of the going for offensive part, which I just don't see at all. Now, if you're talking to me as a DM, fantastic. If you're talking as an overall like midfielder box to box going forward, I don't see it because I think offensively, he doesn't do much personally.
And this is why Arsenal shouldn't win the league because of fans. Not like you, but some of your fans are talking madness because he's not a box to box. So if they're talking that, they don't deserve the league just on that merit at all. That comments, but no, I think he's a good player. I think Declan Rice is a good player. I think Kai Havertz needs to do more. Yeah, really, Kai Havertz needs to do more for us.
Fear, have a word with your board, please, man. Wherever those receipts are.
Listen, they're stashed away somewhere. I was watching Kovacic yesterday. I thought I'm glad we got rid of him because he's a liability in anyone's team.
You see, with Arsenal, they're doing it the right way. They're just piece by piece, where we're just throwing, just Chelsea and United just buying players and just throwing them in the squad. Yeah, I deal with them.
Yeah.
Where Arteta's just. I just think they're a striker away, and Ivan Toney or a really top striker away from proper competing.
Awesome. All right. I think we can wrap it. This. It's become every podcast now. There we go. All right. There you go. There you go. All right. Say hello to the people. Say hello. No, don't grab the microphone. Okay. All right. Let's wrap up there. Everyone that's been watching and listening, being in the comments, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a while, but we are back consistently now. So you will see us definitely, especially during the international week. And believe me, no podcast is going to be about international football. So we'll find something else to talk about. But before we go, always as I always do, is let everyone plug themselves and let everyone know we can find them. Theo, we start with you, bro. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, so mainly From the Shed End, so Instagram, Twitter, at From the Shed End, and then Starla Play Football as well. So the 2 podcasts there. But yeah, again, appreciate you having me on, Kojo. Good to be back.
Appreciate it, man. Rodri, where can I find you, sir?
Ace Podcast Nation Thursday nights on usual platforms: YouTube, Twitter, Spotify.
Wicked, awesome. Callum,
I haven't got much to plug these days. I haven't been on a stream in a while, but very active on Twitter at Callum K_, I think.
There you go.
Appreciate you having me on as well.
Anytime, man. And Basil?
At me, you can find me on Twitter at bjcus14. And long may we continue to see the demise of United and Chelsea, and hopefully Tottenham very soon.
You're doing so well until that last sentence.
They probably won as much as us as we've won in the last 14 years.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Ha.
Come on.
Yeah. You know what, Basil? I'll message you privately later. 3inMidfield podcast, all over your socials, as you know, if you're here. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the content and to the podcast. We'll be here next week, probably same time, and probably with this one here as well. Yeah, exactly. All right. Peace out. Have a lovely